Welcome back to Hey Eintracht Frankfurt, the Bundesliga podcast covering everything there is to know in the English language about Eintracht Frankfurt. With me today, the man, the myth, the legend, the founder of HEFpod, Brian in Kansas City. Can you give me the rest of the tagline?
You know, it is the only podcast covering Eintracht Frankfurt in the English language. It's the best. Eintracht Frankfurt is the best club in the Bundesliga, the best club in Germany, the best club in Europe, best club in the world for that matter. Are we biased? Yes. Do we care? No. You won't be listening to this podcast if you weren't an Eintracht fan or a fan of the Bundesliga. So if you happen to be an EPL fan listening to this because you're hoping that you would get to know a little bit more about Eintracht Frankfurt players, well, you're more than welcome to listen to us babble on for the next, 20, 30 minutes about everything that there is to know about the Adler. You know what? Sit back, relax, enjoy yourself, and learn a little bit about alcohol, if nothing else. I think that hashtag what are we drinking is still a thing. And I guess it's also going to be hashtag what are we eating, Chris? Or am I prefacing what's going down in Louisville just a little too early?
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of people are like, why are you guys releasing content in mid-July? There's absolutely nothing happening. Well, that's not true, and we're going to tell you why. But first, to get in contact with the show, the website, HEFpod.com. We're rebuilding the statistics zone for next year. We had a lot of good feedback on that from last season. HEFpod.com has links to our Instagram account at Hey Eintracht Frankfurt and X, formerly known as Twitter, at HEFpod, and maybe some other things coming up. But Brian alluded to Louisville and why it's important that we get this content out today. That is because we will be in Louisville as well. At least part of our HEFpod hosting contingent. And of course, fans from around the world, fans of Eintracht Frankfurt, fans of the Bundesliga, fans of Lou City, who's kind enough to host Eintracht on this international tour. And we've already made some friends in Louisville. Our podcast has. And yes, I'm saying it wrong. I know it's Louisville, not Louisville. I'm aware I'm from Michigan. I overpronounce every syllable put my way. A Louisville. I don't do that. I'm from the Great Lakes. I have to accentuate every syllable I see. That's why I'm really bad at languages. But anyway, HEFpod.
Including German.
My German is horrible. As they found out last week when I was there, my French was better. The Italian was shit as well. But anyway, HEFpod is headed to Louisville, and we are excited. We've partnered with a fantastic local restaurant, Feast Barbecue. They're widely regarded as one of the best barbecue joints in Louisville. And that's no small feat in a region known for bourbon and barbecue, which really goes so well together. I cannot wait to pair them together. But we spent a lot of time looking for the right partner to host our event down there. And Feast and the Optimist Society, the parent group of Feast, they're a fantastic company. They have a beautiful brick and mortar location in the Nulu neighborhood. It's kind of an eats and arts neighborhood, not far from the stadium in the downtown area. But it gets better. We're not doing an event at the restaurant. We're doing an event at the stadium. We're going to be in the Gold Lot, just east of Lynn Family Stadium. Just across Cable Street there. We'll put a map on our social media so you can find us. But HEFpod will be on site for Eintracht Frankfurt versus Louisville, and we are bringing the food. We are bringing so much food. I can't even begin to tell you just how much food I have to pick up, but we need people to share it with. So come and chat about Eintracht Frankfurt. If you're a Lou City fan who somehow found us on the interwebs, stop on by. We'd love to talk about the Bundesliga. If you talk about the USL Championship, I might have to get a little heated as I am a Detroit City loyalist, but that's for a different topic.
Well, you got knocked out of the, U.S. Open Cup at, I think, the quarterfinal stage by Louisville.
We've been knocked around by them a few times, if I'm going to be incredibly honest.
Or was that 16? Hey, look, my local MLS side. I know I'm interrupting this and making it about, my local team, Sporting Kansas City. We're actually hosting Indy 11 We were one of the 8 clubs of MLS to join it. We're actually 4-time winners, so we're tied for the most amount of wins for any MLS team when it does come down to playing in this competition. And it's one that, honestly, in my later years, I've realized I care more about the U.S. Open Cup because it's just the most genuine, straightforward, open for everyone competition, hence the name, and the sheer fact that it was trying to be sabotaged, how dare you, when it is, to me, the most flat competition that anyone can take advantage of. That it is exactly what the DFB Pokal is for Germany or the various other domestic cups that are in every single country of the world. And yet someone tried to mess with it. I don't like that. I'm going to try and keep this, both of us will try and keep this focused on Eintracht, focused on the opposition at hand. Hey now, I can talk Liga MX more than you can. And remember, folks, there are 2 matches going on, but let's be real, we're talking to the wider audience that does speak to us, does listen to us. They live in Europe. And they're going to the United States. They live in the United States. They're going to the match in Louisville. We're going to be paying attention to that one more so than they would, say, the additional match that Eintracht is playing in the United States. I wish, honestly, it was 2. But we don't need to get to why it's only 1 there. But hey, you know what? A Liga MX side, a USL Championship side. I'm very happy with the fact that they're back in the Western Hemisphere at all, considering all the summer tournaments that were going on that have pulled a lot of players from the men's side and women's side away.
Well, on that point for a minute, it was brought up in the pre-travel press conference that Juarez is paying a pretty good sum for us to be there. And I think that's one of the important points here is that these trips are not cheap. That's why you don't see teams doing it year after year. And with the U.S. leagues currently in mid-season right now, it's difficult to get on schedules. Eintracht was rumored to be headed here to Detroit last summer, but then going to the Cup final threw a wrench in that too. So, I mean, you're working within a lot of different schedules and finding opportunities where you can. But to go to Juarez and make some money that, will pay for a portion of this trip without having to come out of the coffers that might go to a future player is it's a good thing. But yeah, you mentioned summer recaps. We're not going to go through the tournaments one by one. Euros 2024, interesting watch. Copa America, absolute chaos. CONMEBOL can F right off for what they did to. It's just. First, it was a money grab to begin with, pulling that tournament in the United States.
Let's preface. May I preface this a tiny bit? So, Copa America is the oldest international cup competition that is still ongoing. It predates the World Cup itself. Yeah. So, Uruguay, when it comes to the team that won 1930-1950's World Cup, has 4 stars because the only pan-world competition that was out there at the time was the Olympics, which is currently going on, but the Copa America was the first, regionalistic international cup competition, and the sheer fact that they went to the United States, so they did it for the 100th anniversary in 2016 because of FIFAgate. The United States Soccer Federation took that on as, hey, look, you wanted to host it here, you wanted to put it on here in the United States to make as much money as possible. Got it. But because of FIFAgate, the United States Soccer Federation took over the organization of it from every standpoint, from selling international rights, moving it to the right stadiums. The United States Soccer Federation earned something around $60 to $100 million of gross profit for themselves, which CONMEBOL saw that. They were sort of unorganized at the time because of FIFAgate, and they're like, hey, if we ever do this again, we're going to want our cut. So they told CONCACAF that because of the domestic issues in Ecuador, you just need to pull up Ecuador on the BBC web to find out the kind of chaos that's been going on there, then political instability. It's sort of also there in Bolivia as well. So it's not like as though they really came to the point that, hey, for these countries that do host the Copa America and South America. That is, unless you're Brazil or Argentina, you don't exactly have the full infrastructure to be able to host a 10, 12 team tournament all so easily at the drop of a hat. So with under 1 year notification, they came to the U.S. Soccer Federation and CONCACAF and said, hey, we'd like you guys to help bail Ecuador out of this. And they did. So planning wise, look at how far the Euros was planned out by the German Federation for the European Championship. Multiple years in advance, you knew all the venues. Shucks, you knew where your team was going to play in November of 2023, and CONMEBOL just was running with it and realized that every single thing that they were going to be doing was going to be done at next to no notice, and it looked it. And the money grab for all the Argentina games because of the Messi effect was totally on display. They then turned up the ante on every single Colombia match. Every single Colombia match ended up being a nearly sold out venue. They tried to do the same thing for Brazil and Mexico games, and they dropped the ball on the other games. They only were able to play so many matches in stadiums that honestly would be more suited for the amount of people that would attend. So they had a match in Kansas City that had 13,000 fans because it was a 5 p.m. kickoff in the middle of the damn sun, and it caused one of the referees in the sun to literally pass out because they didn't do a water break. There was a lot of
20 minutes into the match. It was crazy.
40. I mean, it was 40, and they didn't have a water break, and it was bad. The only thing that Eintracht fans should be considered following that was literally because Pancha was called up to the Ecuadorian national team, who were the only team to score on Argentina during that tournament. Argentina ended up winning it, but there were so many issues top to bottom that you got to realize in this Western Hemisphere that we have, the United States, these events usually are put on so easily because there's such a, playbook for them to go on. And when CONMEBOL is not very directly talking towards the local organizers at every individual level, and there was 16 different venues that they all had to talk to. It's a logistical nightmare, and I say that as someone who works in that field, and it just was an absolute crap show.
That's where I'm going to cut you off.
You had a long Copa America rant by me, but I felt I needed to preface everything, and now you have all the information and can agree. Yes.
But no,
could have been great,
now I have to disagree.
And it was a cash grab.
I have to disagree with you. We as a country are not equipped to host a 16 stadium tournament on short notice. As someone who prepares for the events, I'm literally working on the World Cup right now as part of my professional responsibilities. And we're behind in World Cup planning, and that's still 2 years away. Copa America isn't the same number of international travelers. It is a large amount, and it is a passionate amount. For as much as we think we're fans of Germany or Poland or Denmark or pick your country, the South American game is known to be far more violent, literally. And I think we saw that. The crowd rush at the entrance. I know these stadiums where these incidents occurred. I know the people that run them. I consult with them on a regular basis. They're prepared as they can be. But these are not the kind of events that you can plan on 6 months, 8 months notice and make them work. A lot of that stems from the fact that from the security perspective, we're way off topic for this, but I'm going to go there anyway. When you hire people to work in a stadium, a lot of them are on short-term 3-month contracts or they're hired as a third-party badge security service. The problem is a lot of them just want to see Leo Messi. So once they're in the stadium, you can assign them to work a doorway or help move people this way or that. But once they're in the stadium, a lot of them walk away. They want to see the game. They want to see whatever it is. The turnover rate in the security field in a stadium is up to 20% per event for these major events like this, which is why it takes so much additional planning. The way we look at it is the 4-to-1 concept. If you have one position scheduled for a temporary security guard, you need to have 4 in reserve because you're going to lose that one and need to place them somewhere else. And then you're going to have a rush on the entrance like you did here or at the NFL draft in Detroit where we had 400,000 people in a single night. Now I'm ranting, but these events are massive, but they're going to keep coming. Right now we have the Olympics going on. We've got Olympics coming to the States in 4 years, a World Cup in 2 years. The events are going to continue coming, and they're only drawing more and more people as travel becomes easier to organize. And, that's something that we as a country have to prepare for, but the federations as well have to do a better job.
Here's a question I have for you, Mr. Security Man. So we are, depending on the location in the world that you are from, 2 years, 3 years removed from COVID, where you can then return back to the stadium. Do you believe, like me, that people's brains are no longer kind of directed to be like, I'm headed to this stadium. I have this certain level of behavior that is expected of me, and that now these kids who utilize Instagram to kind of show off, hey, look, I'm here. I'm at Messi's final. It's Argentina versus Colombia. I'm on site. And how many people are just like, it kind of doesn't matter. I just need to be there, as opposed to you're going for the event itself and just don't know how to behave at special events such as this anymore.
So I entirely agree with you, but for a totally different reason than you're probably thinking. Yes, people have lost their damn mind since COVID. Going back to major events, we've seen so many more security issues, a crowd crush, all of these nightmares in my industry, and mitigating them is almost impossible because the more people we put up against it, the more people are coming. But the reason I think it's happening has to do with the cost. People are paying far more to attend events than they ever have in the past. The percentage of their disposable income going to these events is higher than it's ever been before. So as ticket prices have gone over the top, people's expectation of it, whether you paid for the seat or you think you deserve a seat for whatever that reason may be. If you didn't pay for it, you don't deserve it. But everyone wants special treatment, and they want a greater experience than can actually be offered. If you buy the top row seat in Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, you're going to get a top row experience. You are not going to get a VIP experience. But when everyone walks through that door, they expect to be treated like a prince, a princess, whatever the case is. And I think we've lost our damn mind after COVID, realizing you're supposed to get exactly what you pay for. Cheap seats are supposed to be, I'm thankful that I'm actually in the building. VIP seats, I get a little elevated experience. I paid to be pitch side, I get the VIP. But you know what we've done is the opposite, where people say, well, I don't want to pay for it, but I still want that top level experience. I'm going to go down closer to the pitch, and when an usher tells me I have to go back to my seat, I'm going to cause chaos and, make it an Instagram meme or whatever the situation is. I think we have lost our minds since COVID, and we've definitely lost the direction this podcast was supposed to go in. But that's something that I think we have time to get back on board before the World Cup in 2026.
Yes, European listeners are probably thinking, oh, dear God, you're freaking us out ahead of the World Cup. Look, I believe that...
but you know what? Let me be honest. If you come to Louisville this weekend, the food will be worth listening to our nonsense. Anyway, regarding the Olympics, for the men's competition, this is a minor event. For the women, it's a major event. The under 23s for the men and the full national teams for the women.
Paxton Aronson representing
not a lot of
Eintracht
representation. Yes, Paxton Harrison started yesterday as we record. He started yesterday against French, 3-0 loss. I thought the U.S. played better than expected, given that France is probably the most talented team in the tournament. But yeah, he's headed on loan at the end of the summer to Utrecht, interestingly, where my home office is located. I'll probably check in on him. But he's 20 years old, and he's still got an opportunity to develop and come back. On the women's side, three Eagle Bears are representing the German side. Laura Freigang, Sarah Dorson, and new signing from Leverkusen, Eliza Sens. Now, I don't know if there's any others from other teams. I did a quick scan. I didn't see anything.
We had three on,
but there
were three alternates as well, all for Germany.
Yeah. Nicole Aniomi, how she didn't get called up is astonishing to me.
That's a tricky thing. There's only 18 roster spots, and it's a 12-team tournament for the women, whilst the men's tournament, which is a U23 tournament, you're allowed to have up to 3 overagers. They have the same roster restrictions, but it is a 16-team tournament. And I guess technically Chiba was also an unused player for Japan. Who I think took on Spain today. It wasn't he. Sorry. Kind of hard to keep track of it at work at the same time that you have an Argentine complaining about how he can't watch all the rugby sevens. Yeah, an Argentine who likes rugby just as much as soccer. Who would have thunk? Anywho's.
Does he wear a Messi jersey?
He does. He
watches.
He has one, but he was nervous throughout the entire Copa America because he thought that that Canada plays rough, and I'm like, blame it on the referees for not laying down the law. But anywho's, we're going again off topic here. 6 unused alternates for that. 4 unused alternates for the Eintracht. 3 playing for Germany. It's I'm okay with the fact that we're not involved and we don't have as much involvement in the upcoming in this Olympic tournament, because you know what, the Women's Champions League qualification, the camps are getting started. The final is in Lisbon. I'd like us to at least get into the round of 8 this time around. And we've got qualifying. We're not even going to get to. We're not hosting the tournament, Chris. I'm okay with us not hosting our play-in tournament, as we will be going to somewhere in Reykjavik, and it's just we got a tricky team right out the gate, and the team who will be the host of the final in 14 is the team that Eintracht faced right out the gate, but. Hey, you get the mini qualifying tournament. Even if you don't proceed into the next round, you at least are guaranteed 2 matches there. And I think by leaps and bounds, the Eintracht is the most talented of the 4 there. I mean, there's other groups of 4 that are a little bit more dicey than what we were given.
I think we're taking a more talented squad, even though we've lost some pieces, but adding Sense is a big addition from Leverkusen, a very organized player with a lot of experience.
We're doing a Bayern in the men's side. We're picking off good players from the teams that are below us to enhance ourselves. We got to maintain that top 3 status, which we've been able to do for 3 seasons now.
And I'm looking at that schedule. Before, it's just so messed up. The women's calendar has got to be revamped because they go off in August, and then the Champions League tournament in early September. There's only like 8 games between August 1st and October, and 2 or 3 of them are friendlies. It's like every time they get into a rhythm in the women's game, it gets interrupted by a 2-week break here and a 3-week break there, and it just... I think that calendar has to be revamped. I know the leagues are smaller, they have fewer matches, but we have to do something to keep that consistency. For players' health and fitness, they need the consistency. That's a topic for another time, but there's a lot going on. The travel to Iceland will be interesting. It's a cheap flight for me. I might have to see how that one can play out. But sporting, I don't know much about the women's side compared to the men's side, but certainly that'll be an interesting one to explore in the future.
Yeah, it's consistent consistency is being shown to me of the Portuguese teams that it's all about the teams from Lisbon. You got Sporting, who I think is in their either second or third consecutive appearance at this phase, whilst Benfica is going through, who we faced in the group stages. The Portuguese league just is not high enough in the rankings yet to be able to get their automatic spot into the group stage or be in get a bye into the second round, because there's only the top 4 leagues in the world, in Europe get a pass into the group stage, and then you got in the second round of qualifying, you have the champions of 3 different leagues that are waiting on the various winners of the playoffs for the first round of qualifiers, and that's Italy, Sweden, and the Czech Republic. That is correct. Portugal is not a part of that. And considering the fact that Benfica got into knockout phase, I'm sure that's eventually going to change with the revampment that's coming and a second women's competition. It's a lot coming for the women's game, which has developed just leaps and bounds in the last decade. I would say that it was exceedingly unprofessionalized, and now it's very much the opposite. It's become extremely professionalized at the highest end, but there's so much more to go.
And, one more thought about how our club fits into this. Looking at the way that the Eintracht Frauen had to fight their way to get back into the Champions League picture this year. Hoffenheim had passed them. They looked like a shoe-in. And then Nico's team played damn near perfect ball for the last 3-4 weeks of the season. And I think that's something, if you can take that and carry it over the momentum, but also the work you put in and say, let's not dig that hole early in the season, because that's been an issue a couple times in the recent past. When I've sat here and said, I'm going to fly high with predictions of championships and silverware and all this. But the reality is it takes a lot of work. And, victories in May come from the work in July. And that's what we have to remember this year, is that what you do early on is how you advance in these tournaments, how you place high in tables. It's not how you come from behind when you're on the verge of losing it.
Yeah, that is such is the way of life. But hey, you know what?
Which is a great segue to the men's side, because they love to live on the edge.
This seems like a perfect time to insert a Lady Gaga song, of which I will not ask Nathan to run into those copyright issues. So, moving on to the men's side, who have been making move after move after move after move. I can keep on going. We've outlaid a lot of money. Making players who are on loan permanent. Yes, I'm thinking of a certain French player who is just a crap ton of money. Like Hugo Ekitike. What was it? 20 million euros on him? Woof. It's a sizable outlay. Look, the way that most of these transfers are done is you incrementally, over the course of 3, 4, 5 seasons, you pay out that transfer fee. It's not paid in one lump sum. Occasionally, some teams will do that when it's a minor sum, but take Neymar's transfer from Barcelona to Paris Saint-Germain many years ago. That was over 200 million. Barcelona said, no, if you're going to pay his exit fee, it's in a lump sum. They did, but most everybody else, when it comes to, say, Sebastian Haller, West Ham United had to pay us incrementally, despite the fact that the English league is the richest league there is. Those guys still do it incrementally, so it's a bit here, bit there. That's why these days it seems like the biggest of big teams are trying to wait out some guys' contracts, such as a certain Canadian in Bavaria. His contract is basically being wound down so that the team signing him in a certain rich part of Madrid doesn't have to pay the transfer fee, so that they can save their money that way. It's amazing that we're spending close to 10 million on Aurelie Amenda from Young Boys Burn, another Young Boys Burn. We'll see if he's anywhere the kind of pays the kind of dividends that Djibril Sow did for us, because that was quite. I think he was well worth this sort of transfer. Kan Uzun, from Nuremberg, nearly 10 million there.
He's going to be interesting.
He really, in the second division, he posted quite a lot of goals last year, and last season was his first full season as a full professional with the team. He's going to turn 19 in November. This is a guy for the future. He's already internationally capped for Turkey. He's already senior capped.
Kind of says it says a lot that we're not sending him out on loan right away, because we have a long history of taking players that are under 20, signing them for a good amount of money, and then sending them off, and we never see them again. The list is too long at this point. I'm not even going to get into it. But he's one that is familiar with the German game, having come from Nuremberg, and I think there's a good opportunity to work him in. And having more experienced guys around him is going to help him grow. So I think he's a good one to not send out right away. Now, my big excitement is the work on the wings and towards the back. We have the stability of Tuta, and Nathan's been all over this one. The Tuta rumors kind of started on social media. Now they've made their way stateside with the club. Lots of questions. Is Tuta going to be around? I don't see him going anywhere. What do you think?
I don't think that we have the kind of depth to be it. Because, look, I think Pacho, for example, has got max one more season with the Eintracht, that unless we qualify for the Champions League, he's going to be moving on. There's a chance he might get plucked at the very last moment for just a big old bag of cash where we're just like, we got to sell him on. I hate doing that, but
that would be a killer. It would be the exact same as what happened with RKM last year. That last day sale where you don't have time to bring in someone else. I hope we learned our lesson from that, because Pacho, as good as he is, Transfer Market currently has his value listed at $35 million. So, and I know Croatia's already been out there, putting a high price tag on him. We're not going to get the same $90 million haul that we did for Kolo Muani. We have to consider if it would be worth it. You might be able to sell them for 25 or 30 million.
That's stupid.
But
that's honest. Look, folks, that's absolutely dumb.
That's a good amount, but we don't have the depth in that area.
Defense, it's scarier, because for defense, you need to be able to be successful. You need to have that relationship between the center backs and the keeper. And you know what? Last season, he really did well, moving on from, we got him from somewhere in Belgium. I'm blanking. Antwerp. There we go. Got there at the end. We got him from Antwerp, and he basically was there for a season and a half in Belgium. He did well to adjust whilst there. And you know what? We picked him up. He did it. It took him a second to get adjusted to the Bundesliga. He's on the first 11 of one of the probably top 5 national teams in the Western Hemisphere. I don't think that's an idle boast right there. Him playing in that sort of role. And Robin Koch, the relationship between those two guys as the primary center back pairing, I think is clutch going forward. I'd like to think that with the talent that we currently have available, and remember the other acquisition from Nuremberg was Nathaniel Brown, who plays over on the left, but left wing back. Here's hoping that he decides to play for the United States. I know, one of his parents is an American. Based on his name, you would think, maybe that will happen, but I'd like to think that the Eintracht will go with more of a back 4 than the back 3 with 2 wing backs. I think that I don't think that we're outlaid to be able to play the back three with two wing backs, all is with the style that Dino Topmuller wants to play. I think that the back four is more suited to what he wants to do, and he tried to keep a lot of what Glasner was doing, and it just didn't work for how he wants to play. You gotta adjust. The greatest of coaches will adjust themselves to the talent that they have at their disposal. Like, hey, it's great if you want to play the Marcelo Bielsa high-octane style, but if you don't have the players, you kind of need to adapt to what you got, which is sort of what the international game is all about, because you don't really have the time to work with the players, so you just and you can't make transfers like, you do in the club game. Dino had to adjust to things where, you're now the guy. I think he had it was a huge learning curve last season, and I think that we're going to benefit from him making a lot of mistakes and learning from those real quick. I'd like to hope so. If not, I guess Croatia will have to find somebody to be able to make it happen, because as a coach, you need to be able to make your adjustments. And you know what? We're a club that seems to be in nonstop transition. I'm hoping that we don't have any gargantuan exits, which will allow Dino to really have a vastly better season on the pitch than what we saw last season, despite our sixth place finish in the table.
Yeah. And as we look around the field, I think there's a couple other areas where we've gone from thin to having some pretty decent depth, and that's in the wing backs. And out on the sides have been very thin since Filip Kostic left, and it was plug and play with various guys who can work the sidelines. But bringing in someone like Rasmus Christensen from Leeds United, 27 years old, 9 major trophies in 3 different countries. That's the kind of experience where he's going to be comfortable the minute he arrives. I mean, he's already arrived, but the minute he gets placed there on the pitch, he's going to be comfortable. And I think that's where the ability to play the ball from back to front, as you said, back four, I think the back four is the perfect place to start. Because when you have plug-and-play players on the wing, and then you can move it from back to front and get creative guys like Faris Chaibi and Mario Götze, who's still going to be part of the plan. The way that we move that ball forward and have our target man in place, Hugo Ekitike, who is ready to go. If we can consistently move the ball forward and effectively and efficiently, we're going to be in a good position this year. We're going to have a bounce back year from Kevin Trapp. I'm already getting way too excited considering it's July 25th. But I'm not making any big predictions right now, but you can see a little more direction here in what they intend to do versus last summer.
I think you're right on that. We're in the position. Look at our, and I can look at the attack. One of the players that I'm really excited to see, Igor Mantanovic, who was on loan last season at Karlsruhe. He had a lot of experience coming from the second division playing with St. Pauli, but he's a big lad. And he was in, I think, the top 5 of the Zweite Liga. He's a big kid at 6'4", nearly for the people who go on the metric system, nearly at 2 meters. So big freaking guy, and he to me, and I have seen this online from some folks who follow Croatia. He's foreseen as the future. A future striker for Croatia, and they don't pick mugs at Croatia when it comes to their international team. I look forward to him being very much a kind of foil to the kind of how, if you want to go to the way that the Euros went for the Dutch, you had Memphis Depay, and then you'd go over to that big old lump, Weghorst. You have a guy who's tactically flexible and can help move the ball around at the peak of your attack, and this stupid, expensive move for Ekitike. I keep on saying stupid expensive. I do think he's an exciting player. That's definitely for sure. But it's just a lot of money, folks. It's just a lot of money. Hugo Ekitike, and then you have the big lump that you can throw in almost in the second half when the defenses are battered down, they're tired. You throw on the big guy for the stereotypical, cross into the middle, and the big guy puts, his frame in position, heads the ball in. I look forward to seeing what he can do, because time and time again, you got to have different options to go up against these teams in the Bundesliga, and you gotta. I'm looking forward to what he's able to do, because scoring 14 goals in the Zweite Liga, most of it all once he got his feet under him with Karlsruhe. A reason why Karlsruhe was in the top third of that division. I'm looking forward to what he can bring, just as a underlier, and I'm also wanting to see. What season 2 will be from Shaqiri, because he kind of fell off the face of the planet after he came back from the African Cup of Nations. I'm looking forward to what he's able to bring year 2, as he's kind of adapted his role within the team. And Oscar Højlund, I'm looking forward to seeing what he will bring. Another midfielder. I know some people will say, he didn't really get a lot of matches at Copenhagen. This is a kid for the future, in the same way that our lovely young Swede Hugo Larsson was, and look how much we started relying on him. There's a lot of youthful opportunities, and with us being in the Europa League group stage, hey, you know what? We got 17 league matches, got at minimum 1 Pokal match, we got minimum 8 group stage matches in the expanded Europa League. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for players to see the field and get a little bit of rotation in there to kind of see what sort of stuff we can mix things up with. And then, of course, we'll beat Bayern at home, as per usual.
Brian, we're 42 minutes into the show, and we haven't even mentioned Omar Marmoush yet. If him and Ekitike have had some time to work together, and they find a way to work their talents, we could be on our way, and maybe a Larson, Marmoush, Ekitike, the second coming of the three Buffaloes.
One can hope.
But we're
seeing things so far.
No, but I think there's so much creativity up front. If they can put it together at the same time, there's more opportunities. And I think the way the season ended last year, after the fiasco at the winter break, I think we were kind of down on it and just kind of waiting for the season to end. But as the summer goes along and I start to kind of see the direction they're building this in, I feel a little more confident than I did 2 months ago last time we talked.
We can only try and look at the bright side of life, as the life of Brian sings about at the end of the movie. So we're just, we're not in the most precarious of situations. Let's put it that way. But you're right. We've got matches that are coming up right in the here and now. Liga MX side Ciudad Juarez Eintracht actually going to be taking part in a friendly versus this Liga MX side, like you mentioned, being paid a tidy sum to play against a team from one of the top divisions of the Western Hemisphere. I'm looking forward to seeing how they're able to deal with the extreme heat, because let's be real, folks, it's summertime in Mexico. It is hot before they come back to Louisville. Chris, I do believe that the Eintracht Frankfurt is going to have a watch party where food is going to be provided for those folks in Louisville there for the Louisville match who are unable to attend in person. I'm curious if you already have the details to share about this on-the-spot watch party.
Yeah, so the watch party for the Juarez match will be at Parlor. That's 901 East Liberty Street. There's drink tickets available for people that show up for that if you're already in Louisville for the Eintracht festivities are over the next week. They'll have the live stream of the match there at Parlor on, looks like a pizza bar. Go for some pizza.
Free food, you still got the booze.
And then what's coming for Eintracht in Louisville, we talked about it at the top. We will be in the gold lot that is just east of Cable Street. You can't miss it. We'll put it out on social media. Our friends over at Feast Barbecue hooking you up with free food. And I don't know about drinks. We're not on that front, but bring your own beverages. We'll have some soft drinks there available. It's going to be 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, I don't know the translation. I got home a week ago and I'm back on Imperials, but it's going to be warm. So hydrate. We'll have some water, some soft drinks, tons of food. So stop by.
Passing out in the parking lot.
You know, producer Nathan wants to do a march to the match. So maybe we can arrange that. We'll talk about that on social media and see what we can put together. But we'll have stickers, a couple other things. I got a giant 8-foot red HEFpod flag. You cannot miss it. Look for that. We will be very visible. Love to talk all things Eintracht Frankfurt. Even might invite some Lou City fans for their own barbecue. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I'm really looking forward to it. My first time seeing Eintracht Frankfurt play in the United States. I was overseas for 2 of the trips. I was just moved home for the last one. And you know what? This is going to be a new experience for me. I cannot wait to meet.
Can't wait for the fans to be able to kind of meet up with themselves, because every single time it's always a number of new fans that have kind of found the Eintracht in the last couple of years, along with some long seasoned Eintracht fans. And if anyone is like, hey, you know what, I want to know where everyone's going to sit, section 228 is the designated away section. Honestly, per the discussion that I've had with members of the Louisville City media folks, so long as you acquire a ticket, doesn't matter really where in the stadium, you can sit wherever your ticket is. But if you want to specifically just buy a ticket, just to get in the door, you will be allowed, as an Eintracht fan, to go to section 228. The question is, Chris, is it you or Nathan or Big Tom that is going to be leading the fan chants in the stadium?
You know, my ticketed seat, I think, is in row 1 of that section. My capo days are a bit behind me. Maybe I could put my 8-year-old on the mic, but I feel like Big Tom, he's certainly the character that we need at this point in time.
Big Tom might also say, my capo days are also done. I will, yes, folks, if they're wondering, I will not be there. I sort of am stuck on dad duty during that time, and just... yeah, I only just got off of vacation myself, and that was planned months already in advance, and it's kind of hard to go back to back, especially when, now, life happens. Life happens, folks. It is what it is.
Boy, you know, if only the club gave us months.
Well,
before something
yeah, there is that. But hey, you know what? At the end of the day, they are. I
promised I'd be nice.
Going to be coming back in all likelihood in 2025. We just need to start getting the ball rolling with them just a tiny bit earlier. They need to figure out how to link up with other European. Honestly, get together with other European clubs. It doesn't need to be, a match versus an MLS team. It doesn't need to be a match versus a USL team or a Liga MX team. There's plenty of the bigger European teams who will look at Eintracht, who have made a name for themselves playing within Europe, winning Europe in 22, who will say, yeah, let's take them on. I don't think folks would necessarily dislike a match versus, say, Chelsea or Manchester City or Manchester United, who come to the U.S. season in, season out, and have that repetition of matches played in the United States. I do think that they need to kind of get a little ahead of the game. Just thing is, we'll look at who's usually coming to the United States, start out conversations with them, link up to be able to get a match in the summer of 2025 with some of those guys, which will be played in a little, not to say that Louisville is a bad place, but hey, get one of those against a USL team, get one against an MLS team, and get one against a team of note where, hey, you know what, it might be even shown on the United TV in the United States, because they always show some weird ways of showing the matches. Speaking of which, I believe Eintracht Frankfurt TV will tear down their geo-searching stuff that they usually do for fans to be able to watch. So, Chris, I've been able to watch the Eintracht's only friendly so far this season, which was, on the 20th, a 12-0 win, which I think you and I could have been a little bit better in net. That should be available on YouTube. Have we been able to get that confirmed from the club?
I haven't. There's been nothing on social media, but we will post it if they do. And the match against Louisville on Tuesday will be on ESPN Plus.
Goodness me, streaming on ESPN Plus. In case anyone has not signed up for ESPN Plus, that is going to be the home of the Bundesliga, where you're going to be able to watch all of the Eintracht Bundesliga matches. It also is the spot where you can watch the DFB Pokal in its entirety.
And the USL Championship. If you're an American soccer fan looking for a league because you don't like the other one that's available, check out ESPN Plus USL Championship.
There you
That's
go.
a very good product.
Well, Chris, we do have a couple other friendlies that will be taking place after they leave the United States. It's going to be FSV Frankfurt. We will play against them. A couple days later, we'll play in Spain against Valencia, one of the more historic clubs in the European game. And then it's Eintracht Braunschweig on the road in the DFB Pokal, and then one on the Monday. God, I hate these Monday games. When it comes to the Pokal, I get it. It's the opening weekend. There's not really a lot of people are already on vacation still in Germany, so it's not as maybe big of a deal as a November Monday game would be within the Bundesliga context. And then it is Topspiel, Eintracht away to Dortmund. Matches are coming. 1 month's time, we will be kicking off the Bundesliga. It's been a long summer of international football.
You know, it's like it never ended, and it's not going to. Once this Olympics is over, it's going to bleed right into the domestic season.
That's a fact. Oh, yes. And
it's a year-round sport now.
Shut down our talk about the Eintracht and say our goodbyes, we should also mention that the last stop of the USA Tour, whilst there is no match being played on August the 1st, there will be a open training session in New York City for fans to attend. So if you happen to be up in the Northeast and can make at least a train session in New York City, that is the morning of August the 1st, and that is on the Ichan Stadium up there in New York City. So, and in case anyone's like, well, I don't know how to get there. And maybe, Chris, you know how to get there.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm just going to put it very bluntly. We want to see them come here more often. They have to see the return. They have to see the fans in the stands. They got to see the red and the black. And the louder we are, the more noise we make about wanting them here, the more likely they'll be to come back in the future. And I think that's something where, I'll see them next time around. When they were in Florida, I missed that opportunity. And look how long we had to wait. I mean, it's one of those things where let's not sugarcoat it. We have to show up for the club if we want them to come back home.
So folks in the Northeast, Randall Island technically is the spot where that is. Like, a weird, interesting fact about that is that's actually the same exact stadium where the New York Cosmos got their start in the NPSL at the very beginning of the Pele time, which by the end of that season they had moved to Giant Stadium. Or was it Yankee Stadium? It was one of the two. And I know that I remember that they were in the Giant Stadium, but they started off at that stadium, and they were like, we definitely underestimated what it worked for them then, and then it didn't.
Yeah.
And then Pele kept on being a thing.
There's some great documentaries on the Pele in America.
They are available on streaming platforms everywhere. So, Chris, I think that kind of winds up what we want to discuss. It was expected to be 30 minutes, and we ended up going, 1 hour? Yeah,
it's been fun.
55 minutes of talking about Eintracht Frankfurt. So, folks, ways you can get in touch with the podcast. Email, the old-fashioned way. Well, I guess carrier pigeon would be a little bit older-fashioned, but email heyeintrachtfrankfurt@gmail.com. Instagram is Hey Eintracht Frankfurt. Matt is back, and he's going to be posting great content that we have been able to enjoy from there. Chris, tell us about the HEFpod.com.
HEFpod.com has links to all the social media pages, link to our Discord chat, which is getting a little more lively now as we get closer to the season. On topic and off topic stuff there is always fun. And then, of course, we'll have information posted on there about our meetup outside of Lynn Family Stadium in Louisville. Again, thanks to Feast Barbecue in Louisville for hooking us up with fantastic food. And you know what? Here's the thing. I'm going to go back to my hotel afterwards. And whatever people don't eat has to go home with me. I'm not saying don't show up, but I've got another day or day and a half in Louisville after the match. I mean, if you don't show up, that's a victory for me. But really, I'd rather feed you. So show up if you have a hard time finding us in Louisville, hit us up on social media. I'll make sure my phone is fully charged, and we'll get people some food, some drinks, some stickers, and some good laughs. And maybe we'll have a march to the match. We'll see how things work out.
I don't know where I was going, but hey, folks, if you are able to go, reach out to us on our social media platforms, and we'll direct you exactly where we are at, where all the Frankfurt fans are, and we'll have a grand old time. So thanks for listening to this episode that kind of recaps all the preseason stuff that's been going on. There's more to come for the 24-25 season, and many more fellows to join us in producing this content. This is a podcast that is made by fans for fans. So we appreciate your guys' patience with how we go around our busy work and family life schedules. And we'll be back with another episode recapping the preseason action and all much more. So until next time, choose.
Producer Nathan.
No passing out.
Hey, I'm